Thanks, Soren, and it's a pleasure to read with Ilse and Thomas here. I'll just jump right in here. I'm just going to give a smattering of poems, some recent, some not. I'll start out with a poem for a poet named Thomas Shaman, who is on his deathbed right now in Ljubljana. And he's a dear colleague and friend, and he has this poem. And I think he responded he likes it. It's sort of takeoff on his own. It's called Thomas Shaman is a Monster. Thomas Shaman ate Jeffrey Dahmer in his dreams and rode sidecar in Iowa with Larry Levis and Thomas Gunn. He married Marushka inside a bottle of milk. He taught the unteachable by exposing himself inside a sandwich. He French kissed Warhol's Mona Lisa while stealing her mustache for an implant. His father was a hermaphrodite from the bottom of the karst, and his mother, Uncle Sam. He ate ashes from the debris of the World Trade Center and shat them in the forests of Slovenia. He laughed too much and smiled at babies. Brandishing a tangled handful of desire, he paraded along the Ganges in a sari. Thomas Shaman sports a black necktie in his grave. Thomas Shalaman's shadow swims through the mirrors of Ljubljana. How could one miss this omniscient magician when he's everywhere under our boot soles? Send his spirit to the kitchen for chipotle and flamenco, a toast of white wine to his glittering eyeglasses, but don't give him band-aids, don't pray for him. Thomas Shaman is already a constellation. He's riding the back of a dolphin in heaven. This is another poem. This poem, more recent, it kind of goes everywhere, and there's the one character in here that you might not know from the Rig Veda, Purusha. And Purusha is the universe conceived as a man, or a man conceived as the universe. So sometimes you'll see this giant figure of Purusha. So Purusha says these lines go in and out of the body. Kerky Helen adulterated the exegesis while coasting along the Adriatic. Number 16 hosts a herd of anemic pigeons. Then the boar gored a wolf in Prussia. The tapestry attic left his needles in Walt Whitman's foot, went crappy on a bio in the Panhandle, and died of trichinosis in a cove at Crotch Lake in Canada. Virgil asked Beatrice to put on black lipstick to give herself some definition. Ponder on this. Jews refuse to eat what's filthy, the Hindus what's full of bliss. I will lay me down on my back on the burn, simulating a pig and a cow. Who will cast whom out of whose body? Paper mache has lost all memory of hooves, truffles, and teeth. I went to the market, I stayed home, I am a stone, riddle me and I weep. Beatrice did not put on black lipstick, and Virgil blushed from his indiscretion. The body is corrupt. A grunt will grunt because it grunts. A pariah will be first. The moon will marry a poppy seed. The earth, as Nimrod knew it, will be pierced with arrows and given an otherworldly name. We will feast on Mercury. What is untouchable is inviolable. Purusha plays polo piggyback with evangelists in the land of light. I will skip down one quick poem. I lived years in Brazil, and this was back to Shaman when I was thinking of him today a lot, and it's called The Fetish. And he enjoyed this poem. We both spent time in Brazil, and when he went there many years after I did, I found some friends for him there. And this was written in the late 70s when I was living in Rio. The fetish sings to me, a dark hand on my waist. By drums and by candles, my body tightens into fire. Fetish is the fire. Dying, it becomes the ash of the sun, the insides of a dead man, his shoes, the skull that inhabits my heart, trying to escape. The fetish is never one for words. Consider, for example, the compulsion of this poem, the devotion. It plants its kiss here, analytical and dry, a cool eye on the page, the wrist bone, stiffness, anything retracted, a caged essence. Without drums or candles, the fetish is the metacarpal, epoxied to the spinal cord. Unfelt, it shakes my hand in the dark. I've been coming to the Writers' Union for years, and there used to be a fantastic bar here that was really wild, but everything was in disarray and dilapidated, and the WC down the steps, you would be drinking and you would go, and there'd be some of them would be locked, and then there was one urinal, and then for about a year, they never repaired it, so it had a black bag over it with some wire, and you'd be totally drunk going down there, and then you wouldn't know what to do because you'd be staring at this black bag. And my aunt, some years ago, reminded me of that black bag because she put a black bag over her head and committed suicide in Chicago. So this is for her, black bag. Often I too casually daydreamed I would drape and pull airtight over my head and neck, a plastic trash bag blacker than the mind's midnight mind, malignant anthracite. Until one night, hunched over, pissed, face to face with a black bag jerry-rigged Christo-like on the cracked porcelain of a public toilet, I repulsed the mirror of myself in that palette. Gertrude, this is for Gertrude Stein. There's a sculptor, most of you know, Jacques Lipschitz, who's from Druskininki originally, from Lithuania, and I'm doing a series of poems on artists from Lithuania. And he went to Paris, lived there most of his life, and he did a bust. It's the most famous bust, sometimes you see it all the time, of Gertrude Stein. And this is for him and for her, Gertrude. Well, Hein Jacques Lipschitz, Gertrude does look a bit too much like a certain type of Buddha for my taste. Bronze, but stonier than bronze. Maybe a Ming variety, but certainly not the graceful Prajnaparamita that voyeurs me as my office companion, nor the belly-full, happy Buddha that polkas on a shelf above my books on cooking and Zen. Well, that's okay. You didn't cast her for me, nor, what's more, for any living creature to adore. She's really a mugful, a stein of dark beer, with a top knot for a lid and hollowed-out eyes that stare. It's difficult to describe her, other than that she belongs in the banal museum basement or on a rugby field, along with her pedantic attempts at so-called poems. Certainly, she never frequented the Little Heart Tavern in Druskininki, the mineral small town you sprang from. If this bus had been shipped back there or to Vilnius, no one would have recognized her, nor had any inkling of her humor, or that she might be an expatriate Jew like you. There's no la joie de vivre in her, this Hitler lover. No rose is a rose is a rose behind the bulldozer. She would have survived the Nazis as a collaborator through the war and after. This stark terracotta army stare, enough to keep away any artful second-guessers, that she might have some human blood to sacrifice as a scapegoats for all the folk tales about matzahs for Passover. Gertrude, the way you look here, you will pose forever, never retire, and never suffer the tears and blood of Tonara.